This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. It's tax season, and we're all a bit tired of numbers. But here's one you need to hear. $16.5 billion. That's how much the IRS flagged for possible identity fraud last year. Now here's a good number. 100 million. That's how many data points LifeLock monitors every second. If your identity is stolen, they'll fix it. Guaranteed. Save up to 40% your first year at LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
Welcome to the Parent Footprint Podcast with Dr. Dan. I'm your host, Dr. Dan. Our goal and mission at Parent Footprint is to create a loving world with more compassionate people, one parent and one child at a time. At Parent Footprint, we firmly believe that the key to raising happy, healthy, engaged, and aware kids is for us adults to strive for those same things in our own life, to strive for health, happiness, engagement, and of course, awareness. We believe that awareness is the foundation of creating a vision of successful parenting, and that we can work on being the person we want our child to become. Today's show is called Every Day is Father's Day, The Power of Parental Influences with Lis Wiehl. I'm excited to introduce you to Lis and tell you about her. There's a lot of cool stuff here. Lis is a New York Times best-selling author, journalist, former federal prosecutor, and respected legal analyst and commentator. As a legal analyst and reporter for Fox News for 15 years, she now is currently an anchor for the Law and Crime Network and the host of the new podcast, Pursuit of Justice with Lis Wiehl. She's the author of 18 books, including Hunting Charles Manson, The Quest for Justice in the Days of Helter Skelter, her newest book, which we're going to talk about today. And she won a book award for one of her many books called The 51% Minority. Before she joined Fox News in New York City, she served as a legal analyst and reporter for NBC News and NPR's All Things Considered, and was the co-host of the nationally syndicated show The Radio Factor. She's been a federal prosecutor in the U.S. Attorney's Office, was associate professor of law at the University of Washington, and she's currently a professor of law at New York Law School. And to be even more impressive, she got her JD from Harvard Law School. Lis, I don't know what else to say about you except welcome.
It's so great to be with you. Thank you so much for having me on.
So you have done a lot of really cool things, and the first thing that I'd like to talk about with you is your Thrive Global piece about your dad and your grandfather, which seems to have fueled your passion, both personality-wise and, as you say, genetically, for the pursuit of justice. And that piece touched a lot of people.
Oh, thank you so much. I mean, it really comes from the heart. And I really did grow up kind of out of the Western in the truest sense of the word, that, you know, my grandfather and his father before him, I mean, it was just, we have that sense of right and wrong and good and evil. And it was pretty much kind of cut and dried. And I grew up with my dad telling stories about the good guys and the bad guys, and him going after. He was in the FBI, and then he was a federal prosecutor, and before that, a state's attorney general, and really putting the bad guys away. And it really resonated, of course, you know, with a child growing up. And he wasn't, you know, he didn't go into gory details or anything like that. I don't mean it like that. But, you know, as a child, you're really sort of susceptible, and you're grabbing all that in, and you look up to your dad, and you go, you know, that's my dad, and he's doing the right work, and he's wearing a white hat, you know, not literally going out every day wearing a white hat, but, you know, for him, what really felt special to me about him was the bottom line for him was not a bottom line as in money. Yes, you know, he and my mom provided for me and my brother. We lived fine, you know, not opulently, but we weren't poor either. But it wasn't about the materialistic things. It really was about trying to do right, make the world a little bit better place. And I really think that the gift that he gave, that they gave us, is to try to think like that, just to leave our little spot in the world a little bit better. And in his way, the way he did it was through the law, and to use the law, learn the law, because the law, of course, is about stories and about people that are in trouble that need help. And so by learning the law and by using the law, use the law to help people, to get them out of their trouble.
And you followed that story in your own life, right? I mean, did you find yourself directly pursuing the path because of your father and grandfather, or did it something that emerged and surprised you?
You know, I when I look back, it seems so obvious because my mother immigrated from Denmark, and she got a PhD. Now, immigrated from Denmark, mind you, got a PhD in English literature and taught English at the Yakima Valley Community College to first and second year, community college people at a, very rural state college, community college. English, okay? So this is somebody who grew up in Denmark, in rural Denmark. So, and then she told stories. So, and then my dad was this, pursuit of justice guy. So, of course, I was bound to grow up and to be a federal prosecutor and a writer. I mean, it's like, come on, like it was written for you. But at the time, I'm like any rebellious kid. I mean, come on, I'm not going to grow up. I'm not saying I was like, like this perfect kid, never did anything wrong. But when I look back, it's like, it was kind of predestined, preordained that I would grow up to be a federal prosecutor and then a novelist.
And the one thing I didn't say about your bio is you have a master's in literature. So you really have the piece of both of your parents and their education.
Yes, I do. I didn't get a PhD in literature, just a master's. My mom got the PhD.
Just a master's, yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
But and neither of them pushed me into any of these things. I could have been a travel bum, and they would have been happy, visiting me in all spots of the world, traveling, because they love to travel. They still do at 83. So it's just they just engendered this idea, but really justice, justice. The literature is full of stories about justice and how good eventually triumphs over evil, and good eventually. Sometimes it takes a while. But in the pursuit of justice, good does eventually triumph.
And we like to hear that. I found that when I was reading your blog, I felt hope because your blog was talking about faith in the justice system, faith in the jury, right? Faith in people. And
faith, yeah.
These are trying times these days. I think there's a lot of people questioning, do the good guys really win? And so it came at a very, I think, important time. And I wonder do you hear people challenge you on that notion about the good guys winning?
Well, of course. And I think that's through the ages. It's not just now in our hard times, because we do have difficult times. We're in a very divisive part in this country, very politically divisive, culturally divisive. But it's not just now in this year, in 2018, this political climate. You have to think about cultural, and it's why it's good to be a student of history, to look back and say, it's not just now and in this period. We've had other times. Study history. So, go look back at the Romans. I mean, so these times have happened before, but eventually, if you look at swings in history, bad things happen to good people. That's true. But you have to kind of at some time believe in faith, or what else is there really? And so my parents and my father, both of them, but especially my father, through the law, that was one way. The law is really our rules that we set up in our justice system, and we say, you have to abide by these rules, and if you don't, there will be consequences. And sometimes people get away with breaking the rules and they're never caught. They may face other consequences in their own lives, and that the legal system never catches them. But you have to, as a prosecutor, as he was and I was, at least try to get people to follow the rules. And I think that was very important, as he taught me.
So one of the guiding principles of Parent Footprint is this: be the person you want your kids to become and model through your own life, how to live. And clearly your father and grandfather, and obviously your mother, did that. How do you feel your career has had an impact on you as a parent?
Well, I try to live by example, because it's true, the old saying, children are watching. It's like a jury, right? A jury is always, you got the 12 people. One of them is always watching you, whether you're a defendant or whether you're the prosecutor. They're always watching. So you may not think, that one is watching you, but one of them is watching you. And you better believe when they go back in the jury deliberation room that one of them will say to the other, did you see what she was doing? Did you see that sleight of hand that she was trying there, or that question that wasn't quite right or whatever? And you think you might have been slipping something by, but one of the jurors is going to catch you. Kids are so smart. They catch every little last thing. So the better thing is just to kind of fess up. And I remember a time that I was trying to put my daughter, she must have been about 8 or 9. I was trying to put her into timeout. And I said something like, you've got to go into timeout. And I don't even remember what it was now. And she said to me, Mom, I demand a lawyer. And then she said, wait, you're a lawyer. And she said, I demand an appeal. And, I had to walk out of the room because I was just about ready to laugh. I couldn't keep a straight face. And I don't remember what it was. I was trying to, but it was like, I just have to walk out of here because I cannot maintain the solemnity, the sternness I have to maintain to be the strong parent here. I just better walk out of this room. But I thought, oh my gosh, I'm raising a little lawyer. It's frightening.
Oh, yeah. Already oriented towards justice and process.
Yes. A little bit too much. A little bit too much. She got me. She wanted an appeal. There was no appellate process. I was the Supreme Court. It was over.
And I mean, when I think of parenting and parenting our kids with both firmness and but also with respect, it's the whole idea of actually appeal is really interesting, right? Like, shouldn't everyone have the ability to make an appeal, even to us parents, to argue their case?
Right. Well, yeah, and they do. I mean, children do get a chance, and that's why actually I think timeouts are kind of great, because I've actually done this. I've given myself, when the kids were young, I gave myself timeouts. When I would feel myself bubbling up, right? And I remember a couple of times when I would give myself a timeout and go, you know what? I'm walking to the mailbox now, kids. Just watch me walk away to the mailbox. No, not far, to the mailbox. I'm walking away to the mailbox. And they would like, oh, Mom's walking away to the mailbox. We really are in the dump now.
Yeah, but, when it gets quiet, it's scary. It can be scary for kids when we get quiet.
Oh yeah, when it gets quiet, and where Mom has to walk away to the mailbox. But that's what I would do, and I would just walk away and just breathe, and I'd calm down, and just even that, just walking. It couldn't have been more than a minute just to get the mail, and just taking that few breaths and go, okay. Think it through, Lis. It's really not that bad. What were their major transgressions? Of course, the time when my son put the big wad of gum in my daughter's hair in the back seat when I was trying to, get a baseball for him, and he thanked me by putting a big wad of gum in his sister's hair. That was a tough one for me.
I bet.
But, we got through it. So we have these moments to treasure. That was it. Walk away to the mailbox moment. That was give Mom a timeout moment.
Yep.
But
yep.
but then there are other times when they would say, "Mom, just Mom, sit down." And there were a few times where they'd Mom, sit down. We're putting on a Lifetime movie for you, and then they'd bring me a bowl of ice cream, and they put on a Lifetime movie for me, and that was so sweet. They're like, "You needed time to sit down, watch a Lifetime movie, and we're bringing you some ice cream." Aww.
Wow.
Yeah. They know their mom pretty well. They know Mom pretty well.
So your new series, you've started a new series, and the first book is out. The Quest for Justice in the Days of Helter Skelter. Hunting Charles Manson, The Quest for Justice in the Days of Helter Skelter. Yes. So tell us how, that's a pretty heavy title for those of us who, have lived long enough to know about those days. So tell us about this book and the story.
Well, I wanted to write something. There have been lots of books written about the summer of August of 1969, and that story that most of us who've lived long enough know about. But just to bring my son in for another minute, when I decided to write about that whole era, my son said to me, "Oh, Mom, are you sure? That seems kind of dangerous." And that was like, first of all, how sweet, how sweet of him to care about his mom. But secondly, I thought, wow, that a 23-year-old, he's 25 now, but he was 23 at the time, because I worked on this for 2 years, knew about Charles Manson, because obviously he wasn't alive when this happened, told me that this was a very culturally relevant period and still is. And I thought, this is important to write about, important to get it straight. And because a lot of things, of course, have happened since Vincent Bugliosi wrote the book Helter Skelter. There have been many parole hearings that have happened. Many things have happened since that seminal book was written. And I actually discovered some things, and I was had the good fortune, if you can put it that way, to be in the last parole hearing that Tex Watson had. Now, Tex Watson, if you'll remember, was the man who actually committed the murders. Charles Manson set everything in motion. Tex Watson was the one who actually, did the deeds, shooting and stabbing these people. So I was actually the only press person at that parole hearing, and it was fascinating sitting there for 9 hours with this murder. But it was just fascinating to listen to him and try to get inside this guy's mind in a weird way. And so it set in motion a lot of things for me and a lot of research for me, and I think the result is really kind of a thriller book and a real work of nonfiction that gives you a perspective into that era. And it really changed. That summer really changed American culture. I mean, we were a much more innocent time. And I think to have that juxtaposition is very interesting. It also tells you about where we are now, as opposed to then, obviously. But I think it's important to understand Manson's playbook and how it can happen again and is happening again, because that's a pretty scary thing.
Canva presents The Killer of Productivity. It was an ordinary workday until...
Oh no, this meeting, it could have been an email.
Run. Canva had a creative solve.
Get email. I'll just put the info the team needs in a Canva doc, and I'll make it visual with images, charts, and graphics.
Bring productivity killers to justice with creativity. Love your work at canva.com.
What makes a great pair of glasses? At Warby Parker, it's all the invisible extras without the extra cost. Their designer quality frames start at $95, including prescription lenses, plus scratch-resistant, smudge-resistant, and anti-reflective coatings, and UV protection, and free adjustments for life. To find your next pair of glasses, sunglasses, or contact lenses, or to find the Warby Parker store nearest you, head over to warbyparker.com. That's warbyparker.com.
Mm-hmm. And this is going to be a book series.
Yes, it's the first in at least 3 books. I'm working on the second one already. So yeah, I'm hunting away. I'm just hunting and hunting. It's
Nice.
a lot of research, as you can imagine. A lot of work goes into this because these are historical books. So they take, to give you something that's new and fresh, and also to help you understand the history and make you excited about and interested in it. It's a lot of work and a lot of research for you. But I put it into a nice, easy, readable book so you can have a chapter or two a night, or maybe not at night, like not before you go to bed, but
yeah, maybe not right before bed, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Not before bed, but in the afternoon. But it's just kind of a thriller for you.
And for parents out there, always are looking for good books for themselves and their kids. Do you have in mind an age of youth that you would say would be the starting age for your book? Yeah.
I wouldn't let like, a 12-year-old read it. I would say, 15, 16 and up. For me, but I'm pretty conservative about that. I would say 16 and up because it's pretty heavy stuff. So for me, I wouldn't let anybody under 16 read it. I'm sure other people younger can, but that's for me. My novels, anybody can read those. They're fun.
Yeah.
But this is heavy stuff. For parents, I'd say, let your 16 and ups read it. Yeah.
Putting my psychologist cap on, I agree with you. That sounds developmentally appropriate. Yeah. So, okay, our time is running too short. So I have one last question for you. And as I think about this question, so this is the parent footprint moment question, and people answer it in a few different ways, and you can go in a lot of different directions with this. So I'm going to ask it to you both ways. So the parent footprint moment question is when you became aware of something about yourself as an individual or a parent, and that new awareness had a positive impact on your child. That's question A, but the one you could choose, because we've also talked about how influential your dad particularly has been on your life. The parent footprint moment question also can be when you became aware of something about your parent or your father in this case, and that awareness had a profound impact on your life.
I think we've kind of circled around it in this whole conversation, which is just that I really believe that it sounds sort of strange, but that in a strange way that justice is in my genes, and I don't mean the jeans that I wear. I really believe that I'm meant to pursue justice, and I take that from both my parents, but I especially from my dad, who's just comes from generations. My great-grandfather was a sheriff, in the Old West. And my grandfather was a judge and a prosecutor. And so it's just from the old Western days, when this country was founded, we're based on, the old frontier justice. And it's in my genes. It's like I'm born to do that. So it's in there, and that's what I've tried to present to my children and for them to carry down in their lives, to always do the right thing, be just, be fair in their dealings with other people, in their dealings in their lives, in their relationships. Everything. And I think that's just, it doesn't become in one 1 second or one moment. It's in a whole way of, it's a million stories at night. One rule in our family growing up was we had to be there for family dinner. And as wonderful as my mom and dad were as cooks, primarily my mom, it wasn't so much just what we had for dinner. We could be having leftovers. It was, we had to be there for dinner. We had to have family dinner. And my dad and my mom, but they talked about stories. And the stories that my dad was imparting were stories about justice. And I can see that now. I couldn't see that then as a child, but I see it now. That was seeping into my little pea brain, and hopefully that is seeping into my parents or to my children as well.
I'm sure it is. And I just love, justice and the pursuit of justice is so much a part of who you are and your family is. And I want to thank you for personally giving me hope hearing that story. And I hope all our listeners out there feel it too. Thank you. Well, it's true. It's true felt. It's true felt, heartfelt. So, Lis, we want you to keep going after the bad guys and all of your colleagues as well. We're all going to pursue justice together. Everyone, check out Lis's new book, Hunting Charles Manson, The Quest for Justice in the Days of Helter Skelter. And Lis, tell everyone where they can follow you and stuff you're doing.
Okay, LisWiehlBooks.com, and that's LISWIEHL books.com. That's my website. And of course, I'm on Facebook, so you can check me out on Facebook. I'm always posting stuff there, and my publisher, HarperCollins, just had a wonderful contest there a little while ago. We're giving books away, and they're always doing nice things like that. So check out Facebook, Lis Wiehl Facebook. And and I just started a podcast, ironically called, well, not ironically, but of course, what would you guess? Pursuit of Justice with Lis Wiehl.
There you go.
So I just started, there you go. Just started like a month or two ago, and that's on iTunes. And I'm hosting at lawnews.com and our Law News Network. We're just now a network. We're a little upstart network, Law News Network, and doing stuff like that and working on the next book. So it's all good. It's all good.
It sounds all great. All right, Lis, thank you so much for joining us. I can't wait to read the book. During the day. I'm going to read it during the day, not at night.
Yeah, read it. Yeah, don't read it right before you go to bed. It won't put you to sleep.
All right, listeners, thanks for tuning in. Check us out at www.parentfootprint.com. Check out our Parent Footprint Awareness Training where you can work on being the parent and the person you want your child to ultimately become. I will leave you with this last guiding question, as I always do. What footprint do you want to leave?